Welcome to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Marie, a courage coach, creative soul, and adventure seeker. Since through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 2019, I'm on a mission to help you embrace your most confident self so you can achieve your dreams too. If you're eager for deep conversations, big questions, and meaningful connections, join me on the quest to discovering how we can create a more magical and memorable life. Hello everyone, how are you? I'm really good today. This week is an exciting week because on Saturday is Motivation Mimosa, my first ever brunch time event. I wanted to host a brunch because I thought it would be fun. And this one is about how to maintain momentum for long-term goals. So this is for you if you're the kind of person who's really passionate, you want to try a bunch of different things, and you have no issues coming up with ideas. What's more challenging is staying committed to an idea long enough to see it through, long enough to be proud of what you've done. Maybe you've been considering starting a podcast or writing a book or having your own blog. Maybe you want to, maybe you have side businesses ideas. Or what else could it be? Like a list of things you want to try, but you're just scared they're going to end up on the big pile of other unfinished things that you have been compiling. So you don't get started, or if you do, you quickly run out of steam. And this can be for many different reasons. You start off strong, but eventually you get too tired or overwhelmed or confused, or you get bored and then you stop, you quit. And if you've done that many times, if that's happened to you many times in the past, it's very possible that you might have lost trust in yourself in the process, which makes it even harder now to start something new, because you have evidence that from the past that when you start something new, you don't finish it. Okay? And it's like you cannot tell if the idea is going to be just a short-lived spark for you, or if it's going to fit into your life long term and that you're going to follow through. So, I understand you not wanting to risk investing too much time or too much money or too much energy if it's going to go to waste, and if it's going to leave you feeling burnt out or disappointed in yourself or bored to death like a few weeks after you start. I know it's really disheartening. I was there, but I'm hosting this workshop, Motivation Mimosa, because I don't want you to lose hope, and I want you to break that pattern of starting something and not finishing it, because you have so much creative wisdom inside of you that deserves to see the world. I want you to feel good about yourself, to feel proud, and I want us to benefit from what you have to give. And I swear to you, this pattern that you've become accustomed to, it can change. Okay? It's not your fate. It's not your, what could we call it? That's not how it has to be for the rest of your life. Okay? We can shake things up. We can shake things up and start new. I'm going to teach you how at Motivation Mimosa on Saturday, July 9th. I want to work with you face to face. I want to meet you, figure out what's going on, what's the mental block that's hiding in your blind spot and getting in the way of your flow. Okay? We're going to go really deep. And we're going to find the secret grain of sand that's been stuck in the cogs of your momentum machine, slowing you down. Okay? So you can start finally making real progress on the goals that matter to you. And you can look back and be super proud of what you've created and feel like if I can do this, then I can do so much more. Okay? It's only $10. The ticket is only $10. I wanted it to be accessible to everyone. So you can go to selfgrowthnerds.com/momentum to get your ticket. And yes, I repeat, it's happening this Saturday. So get your ticket now. This Saturday at 11 a.m. EST. And if you cannot be there live, or if you have to arrive late or whatever, it's fine because there's going to be a recording. Okay? So now, today what I want to do is share with you 5 ways I use to squash my own motivation. Okay? Because you might resonate with 1, 2, or 3 of them, and it's going to get you started. It's going to have you start thinking about what might be going on for you. So when you come to the workshop on Saturday, you'll have more self-awareness and we can start from there. And by the way, if you're listening to this after July 9th, still go check my website because you might be able to purchase the recording. Okay? So selfgrowthnerds.com/momentum. It's going to be a really fun event. Just bring a refreshing, bubbly drink, a pen, some paper, and we're going to get deep together. Okay, so let's get started with number 1. The number 1 thing that slowed me down was I thought I was unoriginal. I thought I had nothing to add to what was already out there. So I did nothing. I sat there waiting and wishing I was smarter or more talented. I looked at what everyone else was doing and I thought, oh my God, their ideas are so special, so unique, like mine are so bland, or mine are so shallow, like this is so thoughtful or thought-provoking. I figured that maybe I was just like this and there was nothing to do, or maybe I needed to get another qualification, maybe I needed to study longer, maybe I needed to read more books. Like I just wondered how I could become more interesting. Okay, coming up with ideas was not a problem, but I was so full of judgment for my ideas. I just thought they were so beige. What I didn't know back then is that I needed to express my voice that I thought was uninteresting many times in order to find my message. I needed to produce a lot and to put myself out there in order to find what my message was, in order to develop my style. It's just like, think of someone who dreams of having a bakery. Maybe someone who lives in Paris and they dream of opening a bakery, but there's like a bakery on every street corner. They might feel demoralized by that. They might think how can I even stand out? There's bakeries everywhere. They could stand out with making bread that is special and unique to them, or having some sort of customer service or atmosphere in their bakery that's different. But the only way they're going to find their unicity is by trying a bunch of things, by baking 1,000 different breads, asking people to taste them. You cannot sit there waiting for the magic to come to you. You have to try a bunch of different things, and that's how you eventually start seeing how you can stand out. This makes me think of a story that's told in the book Outliers about successful people. The author, Malcolm Gladwell, I think, he talks about how the Beatles, way before they became successful and super famous, they would go in Hamburg, Germany, to do shows that would last, I think, 8-hour-long shows in strip clubs. This might be not 100% accurate, but it's like strip clubs that would go on with shows that would go on all night, and they needed a band to play for 8 hours straight. And the Beatles would do that 90 days in a row sometimes, like 2 or 3 months. They would do that every day for 2 or 3 months. Like, I'm sure they were pretty ordinary back then. They had to practice their craft in order to find what became the unique voice of the Beatles. Okay? So don't sit around indulging in thinking that you're boring. You're not. Every one of us, I honestly believe that every one of us, if we're willing to do the work of digging into our soul and mastering our craft, and if we're willing to commit wholeheartedly to the creative spirit that's in all of us. Okay, let's move on to number 2. The second way I use to squash my own joy is that I felt resentful of those who did have the courage to put themselves out there. And just like I think I told you that in a previous episode, resent is a function of envy. When we're feeling resentful of someone, we're actually feeling envious of them in some way. So I was resentful of people who were like putting a bunch of stuff out there, like imperfect ideas, or people who seem to have it all figured out. I was envious of the ease that they seem to have. Or I was, if what they put out there was not that good, if I judged that it was not that good, I was envious, without knowing, obviously, of the fact that they gave themselves the permission to be messy. I didn't give myself that permission. This resentment often showed up as being extremely judgmental of what people created. Almost a bit smug sometimes. Like, I think about all the different ways I could do it better. So like a sense of superiority, and then sometimes it would go all the way to a sense of inferiority. Like I said in number 1, I would look at what someone created and think, I could never do something like this. I would never. It's just not in me. But I was forgetting, again, all the hours and hours of trial and error that went behind their creation. Basically, it was safer for me to spend time judging rather than risk creating work that would be judged. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes maybe someone puts themselves out there, like makes a reel on Instagram or like a video on YouTube, and we judge them as obnoxious or shallow or whatever. And it's so safe for us to judge someone instead of putting ourselves out there and risk being judged by people. Okay, but all of the energy that you put into judging others is energy that you do not put into finding your own voice and creating a body of work that you're proud of. Okay, when I notice myself falling into judgmental thinking, I like to turn it back to me. What is it that I'm trying to avoid? Why do I need to focus on people outside of me? What is it that I need right now that would make me feel good about myself? Because people who feel good about themselves and their lives, they don't go around judging everyone. They don't. They just don't. So just notice when you fall into judgment. What's going on with you in your relationship with yourself that needs to be taken care of. Okay? That's going to be time better invested. Let's go to number 3. The third behavior that made me lose all of my motivation is that when I did attempt to create something, I was super hard on myself and obsessing over little details having to be just right. This exhausted me and took all the fun away from what I was doing. And I never finished anything because nothing was ever perfect enough to put out into the world. So back then, if I had had a podcast like this, I would have spent days on it. I would have edited every single silence and every single sound like this out of it. I would have tried to add some music in here. I would have created graphics for Instagram and like animated quotes and things like that. And by the end of it, when I finally published it, if I did, I would just be like so tired. I would think, I cannot do this again. I cannot do this a second time, let alone a third time. So that's where it would stop. My standards were so high, so unattainable, that it was just easier to do nothing. I have always wanted to be a good student in school, and I had to learn that that's not how real life works. Cara Lowenthal from the podcast Unfuck Your Brain, she says, you have to be satisfied with B- work. So I had to learn to be satisfied with B- work. Now I create my podcast, this podcast, it doesn't take me too much time. And I know it's not perfect. And I know we don't edit every single silence. And that's fine. I choose to publish a podcast, an imperfect episode every Monday instead of a perfectly produced one twice a year. And if you're listening to this, I'm sure you're pretty thankful. Because I know that my imperfect episodes help many of you because you reach out and tell me. My imperfect episodes help a lot more people than if I published 2 amazing, perfectly scripted ones twice a year, right? So maybe you need to lower the bar as well. Maybe you need to learn to do B- work. And you'll discover doing so that even if you put out something that's meh, people get over it. Like some of the episodes, this is episode 74, I think, or 73. Some of my episodes were really good. Some of them were very much forgettable. People listen to them and they go on about their day. People don't listen to an episode that's less than average and then spend their whole day complaining about it and being offended and going like, I cannot believe Marie created an episode that was so bad. People don't. They just, go on with their day. So it's not a big deal if you do something that's not as good as you want to. At least you've done something and you get better by doing. Okay, let's go to number 4. Sometimes what I did to get in my own way is I started many projects at the same time. And I ended up spending more time trying to organize my time in a beautiful planner than actually doing anything. Okay? I see you guys, because I was there. I would make like a perfect plan, like I would get a big sheet of paper out, my colored pens, and like make a plan for the next 3 months. Or I would buy like a beautiful, expensive planner, and like I wanted my handwriting to look good and my words to sound smart or whatever. And again, that just kept me safe, That made me feel like it was productive. Planning makes you feel like you're doing something, you're making progress, but you're not. You're not. You're just using planning as a way to keep yourself safe from the risk of failure and the rejection and embarrassment that you imagine would follow, okay? As long as it's in your beautiful planner, it's perfect. And as soon as you put it out into the world, it becomes flawed. Oh my God, like I experienced this so often when I was an illustrator. I would see the illustration perfectly in my mind. It looked so good. And then I would start drawing. And I could not translate what was in my mind onto the paper or onto the iPad. It just looked awful in comparison to what was in my mind. And that felt so freaking discouraging. But what's funny is, like I said earlier, I needed to be willing for my drawing to be shitty many times in order for my skills to level up to the level of what I pictured in my mind. But to me, it felt just so awful to see that I couldn't make it perfect like it was in my planner or like it was in my imagination. And that alone took all the juice out of me. That alone made me lose my momentum. Okay? If you decide like I'm going to run 5 miles every day from Monday to Friday, and you make a nice, beautiful plan, and then by day 3, you skip a day, and then you get annoyed because you didn't follow your plan. That's the same thing. You're just aiming for perfection again. That doesn't make sense. It's getting in your way. Okay, so if you have the BPS, the beautiful planner syndrome, or the beautiful planning syndrome, stick around and come to the event on Saturday. To be honest, now I don't even use a planner anymore. I have stopped indulging in that. I know not everyone uses it to indulge, but that's what I did. So I just got rid of my planners, and now like you should see all of my notebooks. My handwriting is messy, and I just almost force myself to make it ugly on purpose so that I don't waste energy trying to make it nice. We have a limited amount of energy, and that's not where I want to spend it. So I use a bunch of notebooks, and to do my planning, I use Google Calendar. And it's really quick, and I cannot procrastinate by making like a nice contour and some nice little drawings. Okay, so, and if you like to do these things, I'm not shaming you. I'm just saying that sometimes we use that as a way to hide, okay? As a way to hide from the stuff that really matters. Let's go to number 5. Last one. Last way, not the last way, but this is my top 5. Top 5 of the ways I made it hard for me to pursue long-term goals is I doubted everything that came out of my mind. Because not only did I want to be unique and special, I also desperately wanted to be a good person. It's like I wanted to stand out, but at the same time, I didn't want to upset anyone. I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to stand out at the same time. That's like an impossible line to navigate. I wanted to be a good person who doesn't make mistakes, who says the right thing, who doesn't offend anyone, who's inclusive, who's respectful. And so I would just overthink every single word, every single thing, think about all the points of views, and this person might be angry. Fuck's sake. That's exhausting. It's exhausting. I was talking with a client of mine this week, and she said she wanted to put up a post on Instagram that encourages people to donate to abortion funds, like making it compelling, making it simple. But she was afraid to post it because she didn't want to perpetuate white saviorism, for example. And I told her, okay, well, you might, maybe, in some people's eyes, perpetuate white saviorism, but what else might happen? You might help people. You might inspire someone. You might get people to go donate. Make it easier for them to donate. Both of these things can coexist, but at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, what's more helpful? What's more helpful? Is it helpful for me to stay silent? Or is it helpful for me to advocate for what matters? Yes, I might make some mistakes. I can fix the mistakes. I can apologize if needed. I can learn from people's feedback and then be more mindful the next time. But staying silent doesn't have any impact in the world. And that's what I find about those of us who care about social justice and about inclusion. We are so self-aware and we want to make sure everyone feels good, but that can be a double-edged sword, because by trying to make everyone feel good, we just, again, don't do anything. If the goal is to create change in the world, then yes, we have to do our best to be mindful, but at the same time, we have to be willing to make mistakes, okay? And to offend people. We cannot make everyone happy. This is what we've been taught for centuries, especially if you were socialized as a woman. Just stay quiet, make everyone happy, and that's exactly how oppressive systems stay strong. If the majority is busy worrying about what people think of them, then they're not busy disrupting what's going on. They're not busy questioning the decisions of those in power. Okay? So let's summarize the 5 ways you might be getting in your own way. Number 1, thinking you're not original enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. Number 2, judging people who create and put themselves out there instead of spending time creating and putting yourself out there. By the way, I want to add something for number 2. Instead of being a passive consumer who consumes content on Instagram or read people's articles and has opinions about everything, try being an active creator. Okay, we go from passive consumer who likes to complain and have opinions to active creator. When something angers you, go ahead and use that energy, channel that energy to create something, to create the world, to contribute to creating the world that you want to live in. Okay? Don't be a passive consumer, be an active creator. I'm actually going to do an episode about this in the future, probably. Number 3, being a super perfectionist that's obsessing over little details, having to be exactly right until I feel so exhausted that I have no energy left to keep going. Number 4, starting too many projects at the same time and spending time organizing instead of actually doing. And number 5, doubting everything because you want to be a good person. Trying so hard to be a good person that, again, you don't do anything. That's the ways in which I slowed my momentum down whenever I had a good idea. That's the stick I put in my own wheels. Can you say that? It's an expression in French. So I was safe when I was still stuck in that old programming, but I felt so miserable. And I knew I had untapped potential and a voice to share. So I went ahead and figured out how to overcome those obstacles. And I gave you a few hints today as to how you can reframe your perspective for each of those obstacles. But I really want to go deeper on this on Saturday at Motivation Mimosa, because I want you to come out of your comfy shell. Okay? You're going to feel scared a lot of the time, just like I do right now, but so much more aligned and fulfilled once you do. Okay? I would never go back there. I would never go back to being a smaller version of me. The freedom is 100% worth the discomfort that comes with putting yourself out there. Okay? So if you are stuck where I used to be, let's do something about it. The workshop on Saturday is just $10. So if you resonated with today's episode, you have no reason not to come. Even if you have plans on Saturday, just watch the recording. Okay? So it's selfgrowthnerds.com/momentum to get your ticket. I promise I'm not going to tell you to think positive, or I'm not going to give you tips and tricks. We're really going to go deep and try to figure out what's hiding underneath the surface that's getting in the way of your flow, okay? And some of you, those who want to, will have the opportunity to get coached live. All right, I think I shared everything. I'm going to see you this coming Saturday at 11 a.m. EST. It's going to be so fun. I cannot wait to meet you. And I swear you're going to leave this workshop feeling so much lighter, because you'll have identified where exactly you get stuck. And you will leave with insight about how to start moving again with fun and playfulness and joy. Okay? So I will see you on Saturday or next week for the next episode. Bye-bye. You just listened to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. Make sure to subscribe and to find me on Instagram at Self-Growth Nerds. If you want individual help developing the confidence to create a more meaningful and exciting life, visit selfgrowthnerds.com today to learn how. Finally, I want to thank my friend Etienne Galano for editing this, and I want to thank you, kind-hearted souls, for growing into your truest, most courageous selves every day and making this world a better, more beautiful place. My name is Marie, and I will talk to you next week.